We can hear. I think it's the Zoom thing.
No, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
We've have the mics tuned, so if you want to speak, press it, your light will come on and you'll be able to speak. We will be doing votes by roll call. I know we're all in the room, but I think it's going to be easier for Maytac, being that she's on Zoom. And then we'll get this started. So orders of the day, we have none and no sunshine to wave.
Did you already take roll call for attendance?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, so just so I have it here, can you redo that? I'm sorry, because it was on.
Yes. So we have David Quan, Vic Santos, myself, Frank Lovato, Andrew Gardner, Dave Wilson, and Sunita.
Okay, thank you. And then so Drew Lanza, Howard, and Eshwar are absent.
Yes, they are not here.
Okay, noted for the record. Thank you.
In the comment or
Well, I think that, but I'm saying this.
yeah, you have to, in case someone wants to make it.
Okay, so I do have to acknowledge that public, retiree, and general comments not related to a specific agenda item. And then we have AB 2449 remote appearances. Just cause circumstances from Government Code 4953.
We have none for this meeting.
Yeah, we have none. And emergency circumstances, I don't think we have any.
Correct.
And then we will go to new business. Discussion and action to authorize obtaining additional tax analysis regarding San Jose Municipal Code 3.363660. Who's on that? This is
Brett, did you want to take it first, or would you like me to weigh in?
Discussion and action.
Yes, so we shared with the board some prior legal analysis on this particular mini code. And after further examination, we felt it was prudent to inquire and ask you for authorization to seek second opinion, just to confirm. And so that's what this particular item is actually requesting, is authorizing the staff to seek out a second legal opinion on this matter on a tax basis. You should know that there are a very limited number of tax attorneys that work with public plans across most of the country. There are only less than a handful. So we do business with one of them, obviously, and there might be two others that we can seek out information. And if you board authorize us to do so, we will certainly tend to proceed as diligently and as quickly as possible. Maytag, I don't know if you have any other further comments on that.
Yeah, my only further comment on this is that the magnitude of the tax impact, as we know on our membership, is important for us to really suss out to make sure that the tax advice we've received to date is consistent with a second opinion, as Roberto has mentioned. So with that, we are seeking discussion and action for the staff to be authorized to get the further analysis, either to confirm or provide further color on our available options.
So are you looking for authorizations for a dollar amount or just to be able to go out to find counsel?
Just to be able to go out and find someone that can actually provide an analysis in a timely manner, yes.
Okay, so we'll entertain a motion for that. So move. The motion from Dick, second.
Second, Wilson.
Second, Wilson. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with you, David Kwan.
Aye.
Dick?
Yes.
Andrew,
Aye.
Dave Wilson,
Aye.
Sunita,
Aye.
and I'm Craig Lovato, I'm an aye as well. Okay, so we'll move on. The second one would be discussion and action, or discussion on a formation of an ad hoc committee to address the same municipal code 3660 to impact on disability retirees with separate account alternate payees. So I think we've discussed it, and I myself am in favor of having this committee. So I think the discussion is to how many people on the committee, as well as what the parameters of that committee will be. I believe, after thinking about it, and the best way would be to have both members that represent police and fire, a representative from retirees, and then a public member. So my suggestion would be a 4-person committee, but I will open that up to the other people and Roberto or Maytac as to what they have on that.
Sure. So one thing I want to add for the ad hoc committee that distinguishes it from other Brown Act committees is that the ad hoc committee is created for a limited purpose for a limited specified time. So unlike, for example, the investment committee, that's a standing committee that meets in perpetuity, the ad hoc committee can only exist for a limited purpose of time. Period of time. So in addition to the composition of the committee in terms of how many people and in terms and the further parameters of what its delegated authority to review, we also need to set it for a set amount of time, and I would recommend 6 months.
Okay, so figuring that it would be a 6-month committee. Roberto, anything to add?
No, not at this point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I will start by moving the composition of this ad hoc committee to be 4 people with the members as I described, both police and fire active, a retiree, and a public member. I don't know if we have to do this in 2 separate motions or if we can just have a discussion as to who those people will be with the individual motion.
You can do it all in one motion.
Okay. So then I'll open it for discussion. Obviously, it's very simple. Dave Wilson and Andrew Gardner would be the 2. Sorry. I just put you on an ad hoc. So then it would be who might be interested in from the public, and then between Dick and I. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, when you say public, is it one of our?
Our public members.
Yeah. public.
Sorry, our public members, yes.
Yeah, I would like to be on that.
Okay.
So Trustee Santos would take the retiree position.
We would take the retiree position. I've got only 2 of our public members here.
I'd like to find
You
out.
guys could be really nice and volunteer, or you could say, I'm not one of the 3 people who's not here. And nominate one of them.
How often do you think we're gonna need to meet?
I don't know that it will be much meeting, is you guys will be contact for the members, they have questions. Then you may meet to discuss what some of those questions are. If you have counsel advising you of different routes to handle, you guys would meet and then bring it to the board. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So-
Yes, but I do want to mention something, and obviously I want to make sure that Maytac and Harvey comment if I'm mistaken. This being an ad hoc committee, it actually means that since it's not a regular committee of the board, it will not actually be subject to public meetings requirements. Is that correct?
That's correct. So you can meet
And so
virtually
my
and
point
you don't need
here
to do agendas or have quorum.
And they could actually meet by Zoom. They don't have to meet in
Yes.
person, right?
Correct.
So that makes it, I think, easier to address the issue. So That's right. So I just wanted to make that, thank you, Mate and Herbert.
Vice Mayor Votto, if I may. Just trustee Kwan point, this is a hot topic for our retirees. So it's gonna be something that I feel is gonna be fast moving. So in the beginning, probably I would hopefully be thinking we'd be meeting a lot because it needs to be resolved quickly. Just as a perspective on how often we might be meeting, I don't know, but it might be something that you get a few hours notice and we gotta be on a meeting because we have to make a decision is my thought.
Yeah, through the chair, there is a time issue, but again, once we have that legal opinion, that might be able to be different. I don't know at this time, but talking to the members, it's supposed to be a time issue, but again, with legal advice, then they say, well, we can get this deferred with the IRS. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not very confident that you're gonna defer anything with the IRS. So there is some time, Dave is correct, there's some time sensitive nature because the IRS has their timeline when they want their taxes paid. The members can always, cut a deal, a payment plan and all those types of things. And then again, tax counsel can talk about that. But it will be time sensitive for them, not, if they don't get it done, there'll be penalties.
So if I may, just in terms of, I know we're still talking about the composition and who will serve on this ad hoc committee, but in terms of the scope of delegated authority, I believe one way I would propose the committee operate is to, one, how to address the impact of this code provision on our membership, and come together to work with the stakeholders to see if we can come up with any sort of amendments or proposed change to the law, because we are the plan administrators. We can only administer the law, but we have the expertise to understand how the code provisions interact with the tax code and also with the other benefits that we administer. However, we are not the bargaining unit. So we will have other stakeholders appear at some of these meetings. It will not just be the ad hoc committee. We would invite the city as well as the bargaining units to come to hear and work with us on this issue as a collaborative matter. So it's not just, I don't think, just fielding phone calls from members necessarily. I don't envision that's the purpose of the ad hoc committee. What I envision the purpose of the ad hoc committee, or propose, is that we try to figure out a way forward regarding how this code section impacts our retirees at issue.
Yeah, no, Maytag and I agree, and I know that this is gonna be a meet and confer item with the bargaining units. But again, not really something that this board is gonna be involved with. Now, we may be there to consult with them as to how we were going to apply what's in place, but I think that's gonna be bigger discussions with the city and the bargaining units. So I will say we have two of the members here. Are either of the public members interested on sitting on this? Because we do have the issue of three of them not here.
Yeah, I could volunteer myself to be on this board.
Okay, David Kwan. Okay, let me get a motion and a second for this, and then we'll open it to discussion. So I will make the motion. The motion is to create an ad hoc committee comprised of 4 members of the board. 2 members being the actives, Andrew Gardner and David Wilson. 1 member being a retiree, Dick Santos. And the 4th member being a public member, which is David Kwan. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Yeah, a second from Dick. So we'll open it for discussion.
To the chair.
Okay, great, go ahead.
Yeah, so this ad hoc committee will not have any of the affected members on the committee.
No, this committee is going to be designed to work with the city and the bargaining units to address the issue that we have in the codes and to be a point of contact. Members have questions.
But we invite all affected members to come to any of our meetings. And so
Yes,
to the extent we
Oh, they
do
can
plan
come.
so to the extent we plan any meetings, we'll be sure to rope in all stakeholders.
Will those meetings be on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Maytak. I was just going to mention that, glad you mentioned it. Yes, they will be on Zoom, Ray, and we certainly will make sure that to let the bargaining units know, and including obviously the retired association, so that members can actually join the meetings. We certainly want, it is a committee comprised of board members, but we certainly want to make sure that we hear from everyone.
The other thing, I don't know how long this committee's gonna take. I don't know how long this committee's gonna take, and to get together with bargaining units and get together with the city. And I know that in California, our tax date has been pushed out. May 15th on some, and most of them October 15th. But we have a lot of the members that are on this, that the 18 people that are selected right now that have this problem, they have an April 15th deadline, period. They're not in California. So it's a really big issue for them. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I would ask that this be moved forward as fast as possible.
So if I may, so we've reached out to Chris Platten and Greg Adams, who represent, we understand, Local 230 as well as the POA, and asked that any affected members receive, provide us their notice of representation if they do have an attorney they're working with, or if not, if they wanted to reach out to us for a possible resolution. At this point, we can't talk at a broad level. Each member will have a member by member circumstance in terms of what situations they're facing. And so we invite them with the similar invitation to either, if they are represented, to please send us their notice of representation so we can start working with them. And if not, if they don't have an attorney to do likewise, either way, we need to know which members those are and if they're willing or interested in any sort of resolution. And I think Harvey has something to weigh in as well.
And who should they contact?
Either Harvey or myself or Roberto.
Yeah, Ray, we understand the time sensitive nature of this, which is why we're creating this committee. And obviously it's a lot harder to get an entire board together.
Yes.
So we have this committee so they can move much more rapidly.
Okay.
Sorry, sir, I don't know your name.
Does the chair want to include the time period for the committee of 6 months in the motion?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I amend my motion for the time period of 6 months. Thank you.
Acceptable to the second.
Do we have to re-vote on that, or we can do it by consensus?
You haven't voted yet.
I think
Sorry.
the second accepted it, right?
Yeah, Dick accepted it. I have another question. Please state your name.
Yeah, I'm Stuart McGee. I'm one of the people that are affected by this.
Stuart
McGee.
McGee.
Okay, thank you.
I've been pretty much coordinating communication with the group of people that are affected. There's a lot of anxiety out there. One member's already called me and told me that he's gone to his tax preparer, and the amount that he's going to owe is astronomical. It's going to be financially devastating to this person, to the point of most likely losing his house. This is the magnitude of what you guys are dealing with. And so I would just encourage you guys. I heard 6 months and I understand it, and I appreciate you guys creating this ad hoc committee. I really do. But time really is of the essence for this.
Yeah, we understand. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. David? Juan? Yes. Dick?
Yes.
Andrew?
Aye.
Dave Wilson?
Aye.
Sunita?
Aye.
And I, Frank Lovato, am an aye.
Okay.
Okay, so what else here? Budget. Discussion and action to authorize the budget of the ad hoc committee for this municipal code and the related expenses. Roberto?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we want to make sure that this committee is given a budget to deal with any expenses that might be related to this issue. I'll invite Maytak and Harvey to comment. I'm not sure whether we're thinking about just costs associated with the second opinion or all the kind of expenses in general. So I just want to hear comments so that we can sort of agree Are we looking for a specific amount or just to cover expenses in general?
Well, Harvey, do you have a strong opinion on it?
No, I would say, we're talking direct out-of-pocket expenses as necessary. A budget of 25,000 would be more than sufficient to give the committee latitude to spend a little bit of money as it needs without having to go back to the board further. I don't think it needs any more than that unless anyone has anything particular in mind at this stage. Otherwise, if something develops a month from now, we can certainly go back to the board for additional authority. But I think 25,000 is just, based on what other committees have been delegated, that would be a fair amount if that makes sense to everybody.
Question?
Go ahead.
So
Sunita.
what kind of expenses are we talking about? Legal expenses?
Most likely legal expenses, yes.
Okay, because I mean, the committee itself is, is voluntary.
It would be tax council.
And yeah, so another thing we may want to consider, given that these are taxes that may be needing to recalculate, one thing we might want to hold open is getting a CPA assistance for members that may not have that available. So we not saying that we are getting that, but in case it comes to a point where we realize, hey, we need to get a CPA to help us figure out some of these issues because we don't have that expertise internally, that we want to have that latitude.
And I think that's a reasonable idea. Do we believe, including the possibility of that would be enough at 25,000?
I would think they most likely will be, but I'm just gonna suggest that we may just agree or request $50,000. It doesn't mean the committee have to spend it, but at least we know that we have it available in the event that this committee have to make a quick decision and, God forbid that we have to get to 27,000 and we only approve 25. So just to be more comfortable, I think 50,000 makes more sense, and certainly we'll make sure from the staff standpoint that we are efficient on this matter and try to keep costs, reasonable. But if Harvey and Meta don't have any strong opinions object to the matter, I would say 50,000 just to be on the safer side.
I think that's actually what I was thinking as well, but yeah, if they don't have objections, then I'd entertain the motion.
That's so moved by me.
Motion, Dick Santos, to give a budget of up to $50,000 for these services. Do I have a
Second that. I'll second.
Second, Sunita. Any discussion? Yeah, I'll call for the vote. David Quam.
Yes.
Dick.
Yes.
Andrew. Aye. Dave Wilson.
Aye.
Sunita.
Aye.
And Franco Vato, I am an aye as well. That's really our last agenda item. I know we have some members of the public. Is there any public discussion? I see Chris Platten over there as well. No, nothing? Okay, any proposed agenda items?
Wait, Harvey has his hand up.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
can't.
thanks.
It's really far away. Harvey, go ahead.
Thanks. Over the weekend, I started doing a little bit of research on this as to the city of Fresno. And it appears that city of Fresno, both general and uniformed side, police and fire, has been dealing with this same issue for the last 2 years. And they took action in November to deal with the IRS and try to open up some dialogue on this subject. So I would, I'll pass along to the members of the ad hoc committee some of the links to their website, but I would encourage the committee to contact your counterparts in the city of Fresno retirement system and find out, see if we can go to school on what they've been doing for the last year or so. They seem to be confronting the very same issue that we're dealing with.
And that makes sense. I think we actually got the idea for the separate account from the city of Fresno.
But it's new. They their board took action and put out a public statement on this subject in November, this past November. And that's available on their website. I'll shoot you the links as I have found them so far.
Okay, I think that's great. You said the city of Fresno, correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, Dave and I have some contacts there, so we might be able to get a dialogue going fairly quickly.
And one of the things that came out of what I saw on their website was that they had someone, I'm not sure if it's the retirement system, but someone had opened a dialogue with the IRS on this to try to avoid penalties and interest accruing on the amounts from the past open years. So it's not a foregone conclusion that this necessarily has to be have such a draconian impact on members. I think there's some room to negotiate, but let's try to go to school on the city of Fresno.
Yeah, that sounds great, Harvey. Just is this a similar issue or the same issue?
It appears to be the same issue, the issue of the tax treatment of the disability retirement when a separate account starts drawing. So it's that same IRS issue. I can't tell yet whether they're also dealing with the issue of the recalculation of the disability retirement to a service retirement for the member as well. That's the second thing that we're dealing with in this situation. But I can't tell if they're facing that same issue.
Can I use a question? Harvey, do you happen to know who the tax council is for the board of the city of Fresno?
No, but they did
I-
consult with tax counsel.
I believe it's Ike Miller.
Is there any other tax council?
Yes.
There's only a few.
There's three in the state.
Two more, I was told by Harvey and Maytag, there are not that many tax councils to deal with. I wouldn't say public issues, but public pensions, tax related issues, and Ike Miller happen to be just one of the handful that are out there.
It's a very small handful.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like. It is tax code, so. I think we can start those conversations with the city of Fresno, Dave, or you can probably tonight or tomorrow, because we're actually gonna be a couple of members of the, not only just the union, but the police officers from Fresno that are probably gonna have to be aware of this. Know some of the right people to get a hold of to kind of figure this out. So, as I've said before, this is number one on our priority list, and we will be starting on it in the next day or two. Yes. Any other?
Question, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
I know we'll be looking at these legal issues, but can, right now, if someone's under fire or police, as of right now, can they prevent or stop that separate account and do something else? I'm not asking you, I'm just asking.
That's,
a possibility.
it's a choice of the spouse typically, when they get divorced. They have a few different options. They could take a cash out, they could take a joint account, I believe you still have joint accounts, or a separate account. This only affects a separate account.
What I'm getting at before it affects others right now is one of the.
Well, I think this is gonna be up to, and I believe Andrew and Dave are already on this, it's gonna be noticing the membership as to the people that could be subject to this. And if they have a good relationship with the ex-spouse, to really have some conversation explaining how drastic these things could be. But that's gonna be a noticing from the POA and local 230.
And also ORS has included it in their newsletter.
Yes.
Just so you know, mine was mandated by a judge, a court order, and several of the other members as well. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I get it. Being divorced myself, I understand. Right, please.
Yeah, the other question, and I talked to Sandra about this, and I guess Barbara's gonna look into it, but how many people, I know you're gonna put out this notice, but I advise the board to take a look and find out how many Sadros there are just in police and fire, and understand the divorce rate in police and fire. And that's where it's gonna come into play. A lot of people, you put that notice out there, it could get round filed. It wouldn't surprise me.
And Ray, you're absolutely right. Having sat on this board and been on the POA board, I have guys that get ready to retire and don't realize that they can't do that without actually having some type of legal document about that retirement, and it holds up the retirement. So it's going to be a lot of noticing. It's going to be a lot of conversations.
So just wanted to add, I think Meta just mentioned, we have an article on the upcoming newsletter on this issue. So, that's going to be one way. We are going to include that information in the website, so it's available for the members. And I think to your point, Ray, staff can tell you're smiling because you don't know how many times I asked the question different ways, and they have been very patient with me. When I asked them to keep looking at the data to make sure that we have all the members that are impacted, at least through today, that we don't miss any of them. Of course, that only takes care of those that have already been retired, not those that will be retired in the future. Lastly, I just wanted to comment, we recognize, and I think the chair mentioned that this is an issue that needs to be addressed as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. So staff will be working with general counsel to make sure that, we schedule committee meetings as needed and as often as they are needed, so that the committee can actually work through this process. Obviously, it's hard. There's not that much time available between now and April 18th. This year happens to be April 18th. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ray. I was not aware that all of these members are actually outside California. Because if they were in California, it would be, they have most of them until October, but otherwise, so we'll see how quickly we can manage this. And, again, we recognize the impact, and we also recognize that, we need to work through this as quick as we can. So we stand ready to do that, working with the board and working with the members. So thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I just want to echo and whatever we're saying about communication. I think the newsletter and the website is a start, but to get to our members the most efficient way, there needs to be something that goes out from POA and Local 230. And so either retirement services could craft that, or you're going to leave it up to the locals to put something out. But that's how you're going to get to all our members. They will read that. They'll read it more than probably the newsletter or the website. So sooner the better for that.
No, that's a fair point. I'm obviously open to suggestions by the board and general counsel, but I just assume that we as in RMS take care of the RMS side. I wouldn't venture to tell the bargaining units the communication they have to provide to the members. Certainly we will have the article in RMS in newsletter, and we have the website, and I'm assuming that the bargaining units will have their own write-up as to how things are supposed to work. I'm not sure what the message is that the bargaining units want to convey to the members. You certainly can use RMS write-up in your communication, provide a link. But I just assume I'll let the bargaining units do their own communication, just to make sure that your members better than we do. But again, I don't know if the board has any comments or general counsel any suggestions.
Yeah, I would just say, having the two active members here, they know our members. First of all, this is a very, very complex issue, and it's a little bit to get your head wrapped around. This would be not just something that, obviously an email blast would be one way, but briefings, your stations, your in-person meetings, your monthly meetings, where someone could kind of explain it and go, if you have this, and this, you need to come talk to someone. So we can explain this to you and we can get you to understand it. And I strongly suggest that that's what both your bargaining units do.
Vice Chair Otto, if I may.
Dave Wilson.
Just for point of clarity, Roberto, if we could, I would suggest, have the language you used in the ORS letter, send it off to the both bargaining units. It'd be their choice if they use it. But I would think the messaging should be the same across the board between all three places. And then it's their choice if they incorporate it.
Ray Storms?
Roberto, if you could send that to me also, because I'll put out my newsletter. I have another question. We went from 10 people to 18. Are we sure we got everybody that's retired in this situation? Are we sure that we've got all of them? Because we're gonna have more retirees, and I understand that. I'm worried that somebody else will come out of the woodwork that we didn't catch.
We are very confident that we do, but no one can speak to this issue better than Barbara Heyman. I know she can't wait to speak on the matter. She was looking at me like, I can't wait, Roberta, for you to ask me. So there you go, Barbara.
Yes, I have reviewed the data. I've been doing a lot of drilling, and so far that is the population. I've looked at it, I've sliced it 3 different ways from 3 different sources, and those are the people that have come up.
Yeah, because I have over 1,400 members. And there's more that aren't members. So I'm like, okay, I'm just roughly guessing 2,000 people and we have 18. That's just,
Trust me, you're not saying anything. I don't know how many times I have said that to Barbara, and she's been so willing to, and so helpful and so nice to hear me say these very, very different ways. Because I look at the numbers like you, and I'm thinking just 18, and it's 18 because, as you're aware, the day of this code section, at some point after we did further research, didn't really start in 2006, it went back to 2000.
right.
So I'm like you, 18 out of how many people that could be potentially impacted. I think part of it is obviously not everyone goes the separate account route. I'm aware that sometimes it's required by a judge or by the court. So yeah, we Barbara knows we will continue looking at the data and make sure that we have the full population. But I think it is fair to say that at this time, we are fairly confident that we have found all the members that are impacted. I don't know if you want to add anything else.
No, nothing else, but as we all know, every week there's more people, even last week.
Yeah, I think Ray mentioned that. Yeah, I think he's talking about today, those that,
Well,
yeah.
because the more people she's talking about is gonna be one of my retirees.
Yes.
Because they're gonna retire, boom, now they get that.
So Ray, and understand that this is a very specific set of circumstances. It's when the spouse is eligible to start collecting.
That's
So
right.
there may be another population of people
That
that just
are,
haven't been triggered yet because
Yeah.
they haven't started.
yeah,
And
the spouse hasn't.
And I'm assuming, or we're being as good as she is, that they've got some kind of flags up, so. One thing is that it's going to happen. Another thing is to not catch it and end up where we are in this specific circumstance. So I'm sure maybe you can just allude to the flags that you put in place to make sure we catch this.
Yes, and a caveat always being, if the data is in our system, I'm able to extract it. It's for those situations where perhaps the draw hasn't been set up yet, perhaps the account hasn't been split. Those wouldn't be in our system, so I won't know about those until they are in.
Understood.
And once again, it's when the ex-spouse starts drawing, when the person would be eligible for retirement, maybe hasn't retired yet. So they can actually draw while they're not retired, correct?
Yes, but I think it's when the spouse starts.
Right.
So
Yes.
there's a retirement age for the spouse in a separate account. Or a joint account, correct me if I'm right, when the member retires, the spouse starts getting it.
Okay.
But there's also caveats, if the member were to pass, spouse no longer gets it, so that's, is again, very, very complicated
It's a
situation.
muddy water. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or discussion?
We will make sure to share the information with the Retirement Association and both bargaining units.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's nothing else, and I think our meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.